Chargers, to get their offense back on track, they have to get Ladd McConkey going, and this week he has a great matchup to bounce back in a big way.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, other parts of the offense have taken center stage, and I think it's time for Ladd McConkey to have a turn. He has a good matchup, and I think he is going to exploit it in this game. Also, you got to feed Omarion Hampton. He's got to get the touches. I think he proved that he deserves more of them. And going on defense, you got to control Jayden Daniels. You got to know that he is going to try to run the football. You got to play smart football against this team. And of course, we're going to wrap things up with our bold and game predictions.
Absolutely, and there are some wild predictions this week. The Chargers probably need a couple of them to come true if they're going to bounce back this week against a good Commanders team. But this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. David, it's time to get into what the Chargers need to do against the Commanders this week to get back on track. And obviously, we've discussed a lot about the offensive line and all the different combinations there, but I think you have to kind of go into this one knowing that you're going to have to work around it no matter what. And I think one of the best ways for them to do that is use a quick passing option that feels like it's been underused so far this year, and that is Ladd McConkey, because I'm still out here maybe on an island soon, but hey, Ladd McConkey's going to get it figured out. He's going to find that breakout game eventually, and this feels like a prime week to get it done. I talked about some of the stats last week or yesterday on the crossover show. Mikey Sammer, still, as much as we loved him in the draft, really struggled this year. 5+ catches in 3 straight games, an 84% completion percentage when targeted. And the Commanders ranked 27th in passing yards allowed and 3rd in net yards per attempt, 3rd worst, that is. So 3 straight quarterbacks throwing for 289+ yards against this Commanders defense. It feels like, hey, if there's a game to get Ladd going again, it feels like this could be the one.
Yeah, I mean, Ladd does such a great job of finding those like soft spots in the zone, and obviously he has such a precision route runner. And you talked about some of the ancillary stats with Mikey Sanders still. 17 receptions allowed on 21 targets. Like, that is not having a great year so far. 166 yards and a touchdown. That's a juicy matchup for Ladd. Ladd is an incredible technician, and I feel like this is the game for him to really take control and show how good he really is, because I think this is really just a monster that's just been in hibernation, and now it's time for him to come out and show everybody and remind everybody why he was one of the best rookies in the NFL last year.
Absolutely, and I think that obviously the Chargers need to run the football more, but like the passing attack is the better of the matchups right now, and it doesn't mean that someone like Ladd McConkey shouldn't be heavily involved. And I think, you know, even if it's just passing early to open things up in the running game, but I do think it's important. You can't forget about Omarion Hampton. It's not the best matchup for him. Commanders ranked 6th in yards per attempt allowed, only allowing 3.6 yards per carry so far this year. They're 7th in success percentage allowed. It's not a great matchup, but at the same time, David, there's more than just running the football and what you average yards per carry wise. Like, the Chargers need to make sure he's a focal point of the offense and get him very involved this week to protect their quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely want to get him the ball on the ground, but honestly, I think more importantly, want to get him the ball through the air. I feel like there's going to be an opportunity to utilize him in the quick passing game to get Justin Herbert a couple of easy completions, to get him in rhythm, to kind of get that pass rush away, slow them down. The Washington Commanders don't have the greatest pass rush in the world. That's definitely something that is in the Chargers' favor in this one. But I feel like, you know, you look at what happened with Bijan Robinson. He had 4 passes that he caught for 106 yards against the Washington Commanders. So he shredded them. And I mean, I think Omarion Hampton showed that if you get him in space with a couple of blockers, this guy can make things happen. He's hard to tackle. He's physical. He has good vision in the open field. So I want to see him be utilized in the passing game. Touches for sure overall, but I feel like there's an avenue to exploit in the passing game with him, especially catching the football.
Well, yeah, because it's really Bobby Wagner, right? Like Bobby Wagner isn't as fast as he once was. Respect. He's still crafty, still good against the run. He gets to where he needs to, but you're going to see Bobby Wagner chasing him. If you watch that last game, Bijan Robinson, that is, down the field. I mean, there are matchups there to be exploited, I think, especially for the coverage part of Bobby Wagner's game at this point, which is another reason I think the Chargers need to get Rondé Gadsden back involved, right? We saw him. He kind of showed up in a big way against the Denver Broncos. Now, again, you go into last week where it's interesting because you could tell there was an emphasis put on get Rondé the ball in that first game because the pass rush is so good that you're going up against. And then it felt like he kind of faded from the game plan last week against an equally talented Giants defensive front where it's like, okay, well, when you target this dude, good things happen. You know, what happened? Why isn't he as involved? And I think especially when you're looking at Bobby Wagner and exploiting that with Omarion Hampton, you can also exploit that with Rondé Gadsden. There are several tight ends who have already had really big games against this Commanders defense that the Chargers could try to exploit.
Yeah, it's not just about Bobby Wagner either. It's Frankie Louvu as well. I mean, they have both been horrendous against the pass. 14 receptions on 15 targets, okay? 133 yards and 3 touchdowns allowed from this middle of this Commanders defense. That is a gigantic red target that the Chargers absolutely should look to exploit. And it's also not just him either. I mean, I think if you get a Rondé Gadsden kind of lined up on the safety Quay Martin, that's an advantageous matchup as well. 8 receptions allowed on 10 targets for 166 yards. That's big yards per catch. We're talking 20.8 yards per reception allowed for the safety. So there are matchups all over the field here for Justin Herbert to exploit and make the most of. And I think that kind of leads me into one of my important keys, which is to start fast. It is very, very important to start fast. Especially against the Washington Commanders. I mean, you jump on the Washington Commanders, then you can put them behind the 8 ball and really take them out of the way they want to play. Washington trailed Atlanta 10-0 after the first quarter. They were also behind 14-0 midway through the second quarter against the Green Bay Packers when they lost that football game. So you jump on the Commanders early, you get a lead, you take them out of their game plan, and you set yourself up for the best chance to win the football game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that especially when you look at how well they've run the ball in a lot of games too, it's a lot harder to have that many attempts. I mean, that's the thing. Jesse Minter brought up this week. It wasn't the yards per carry that killed the Chargers last week. It was like 3.6. That's not, going to beat you most weeks. It was the fact that you let them carry the ball 40 plus times and didn't get them behind the sticks enough to get out of it. If you can get up in this game like you weren't able to do against the Giants, that changes the game plan and the game flow on the other side. And I think the last thing I'll just touch on here is protect the ball and limit the penalties, right? Like it should go without saying, but when you have a 14 penalty, 107-yard game, maybe it needs to be said a little bit more. And I think also just this year, the Chargers, one of the big things last year that they just thrived on was turnover differential, not turning the ball over, no giveaways really, right? Last year, they only had 9 giveaways the entire season. This year, they have 5 in 4 games, right? They've turned the ball over 3 out of the 4 games this season. They only had a turnover in 6 out of the 17 games they had last year. They're already halfway to that number. They're giving the ball away a lot more this year. And then with the penalties, if you want to stay committed to the running game and you want it to be effective, the worst thing you can do is have these penalties that get you behind the sticks because it's a lot harder to run on 2nd and 13 than it is on 2nd and 7, right? On 1st and 20 rather than 1st and 10. It just changes everything game flow wise if you're not able to limit those penalties. And it was just such an ugly game last week, David. That has to get corrected if you want to beat a good team.
Yeah. I'm shaking my head, Daniel, because I feel like you're just inside my notes because my last key was play clean, mistake-free football. And I think it's just such a point of emphasis after you had only 3 penalties against the Denver Broncos, and then you have 14 penalties last week, and that was a huge reason why you lost the football game. You cannot put yourself behind the 8 ball. You cannot turn the football over. You have to, especially against on par with the good teams, the better teams, a team that was in the NFC Championship game last year, that is still there. There's still a lot of semblance of that football team that you're going to be going up against on Sunday. You have to protect the ball. You got to play clean, mistake-free football. And, of course, on defense, you got to go grab a couple of turnovers as well. But you got to play clean. Don't give them any extra opportunities.
No, I mean, that's definitely a spoiler alert for the next segment because the Chargers need to take the football away. They've only done it in one of the 4 games so far, so we're going to get into our keys for success defensively, which against this team, it's containing Jayden Daniels and trying to slow down that running game. We're getting all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's a local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Where you have those businesses that you know that you can walk in and they know what your order is already, right? They have regulars. Your parents went there, maybe your grandparents went there, and you're supporting, a lot of these places. Most of those places are running on Square. I mean, spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind the business and the community that surrounds it. I live in San Diego, and there's a bunch of great Square places like Blind Lady Ale House or Baked Bar. There's so many places running on Square, and Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more, but before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is also brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, there are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week, the player who moved the game forward was Omarion Hampton, who absolutely torched the Giants last week in a losing effort, but he also single-handedly kept the Chargers offense alive and kept the Chargers in that game. But Omarion was moving at a different level. When he hit that acceleration on that touchdown run, where he just broke every angle on the field, it was awesome, but also showed the toughness and the durability on that beast mode run that he had on that 3rd and 1. This week, the Chargers have to make sure they don't waste an effort of Omarion Hampton if he goes off again, because you have to move past what happened last week and bounce back, and that's what keeps fans and players alike moving forward, always chasing the next great moment. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning, and just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, David, we have to get into our keys for success on the defensive side of things here, and I think when you're looking at the numbers, when you're watching the Commanders, watching a few games leading up to this one, the one thing that really sticks out to you is their running game. I mean, this is a team that's at 147 plus rushing yards in 3 out of their 4 games. Their 2 lowest rushing totals also happen to be their 2 losses, and you're talking about a Chargers defense that allowed 160 plus rushing yards this week. You combine that with the fact that this is actually probably the best scrambling quarterback that you've gone up against this year. I mean, we're talking about 480 rushing yard plus games he had last season, right? 8 games over 50. In week 1, 11 carries for 68 yards in a win. In week 2, 7 for 17 in a loss against the Packers. It seems pretty clear what the Chargers need to do defensively to give themselves the best chance in this one.
Got to be prepared for the running game, especially when it comes from the quarterback position. We're talking about a rookie quarterback last year that hit 891 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. That is real production. That's Lamar Jackson style type of numbers there. So you have to be very, very aware of him and be very disciplined as well. I mean, he had 18 carries for 85 yards. That's good for 4.7 yards a rush. So far this season. That's really, really good numbers. And, the Chargers had issues with it last week with Jackson Dart. 10 carries for 54 yards against the Chargers last week. And this is something they have to clean up in this game. They have to be more physical. They have to set the edge. They have to make sure that they tackle, because they got some big running backs over there. That's the one thing that I noticed is, they're not small guys. They're big physical guys that are trying to move forward, try to break tackles. You're going to have to bring the boom, be physical, but be technical as well. Get these guys on the ground. Don't allow for any extra yards.
Absolutely. And I think that translates, we talked yesterday on the crossover about Deebo Samuel, one of the main guys that you have to rally around him. But yeah, Bill Krosky Merritt, a little bit smaller of a guy, but thick. Chris Rodriguez, I mean, that dude is a load to tackle, right? I mean, these guys are you're going to get your tackling tested, and you're talking about a team that's averaging 5.9 yards per attempt for the season.
Whew.
Through 4 games. And, those Jayden Daniels numbers, he's only played in 2 games. So it's been really impressive what those other guys have been able to do. For this one, David, another one I want to get to here is a big Deion Henley game, right? Like, to me, his performance in that Raiders game is one of the more, important, impressive single individual performances I've seen by a Chargers player, considering, the state that he was in.
Sure.
It doesn't feel like he's gotten fully back from that yet. Like, to me, it just doesn't seem like he's moving the same. Doesn't seem
not
like
as explosive as he
when
normally
you're rewatching these games, you're just not seeing those flash plays that you normally see from Deion Henley, making an impact in coverage, being able to, be a great blitzer. And I think he's probably going to be matched up, as a spy at some points in this game. I mean, we talked about, you said Bo Nix got him. Jackson Dart got him. Patrick Mahomes got him. It's been a Chargers problem. They're giving up 40 yards to quarterbacks on average every game. And that's what Geno Smith kind of nothing burger in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Deion Henley is going to be so important in this game, whether it's the quick game that they run, whether it's the running game you need him to be sideline to sideline for, or just making big plays and making those impact plays defensively. We love Deion Henley, friend of the show. They talked about on the broadcast him trying to gain back 17 pounds that he lost from that sickness. I think this physically, when you're in the grind of an NFL season, it's hard to fully get back, especially from how severe it sounds like that was. And I think they need him to get back for this game.
Yeah, definitely. Deion Henley and Derwin James are going to have their hands full because the 2 main weapons of the Washington Commanders work out of the slot. Deebo Samuel, 93 snaps out of the slot. That's 71% of his snaps have come out of the slot. Also, Zach Ertz has played 63% of his snaps out of the slot as well. Basically, 42% of the targets have gone to these 2 players, and the other person who had the largest part of that is Terry McLaurin, and he is not going to be playing in this game. He's already been ruled out.
Yeah.
So look for these guys to be utilized heavily in the middle of the field, so they're going to have to look to their erasers, Deion Henley and Derwin James, to handle these guys. If they are able to control these 2 guys, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for the Washington Commanders to move the football through the air.
Yeah, especially if you're doing enough in the running game. And like I said yesterday, sometimes that's just about forcing a 2nd and 12, right? Just maybe not being, allowing 2 yards per carry, but just finding those disruptive plays that get things off track and to, set them behind the sticks a little bit. And Deion Henley, Derwin James patrolling the middle of the field is going to be huge in the running game and with Terry McLaurin out, easily their top 2 options in the receiving game. The last part, you touched on it in the last segment a little bit. Find the takeaway, man. Like, the Chargers have only turned the ball over in 1 of their 4 games so far this year. They're tied for 3rd worst in forced fumbles. They haven't recovered a single fumble yet. Like, I want these dudes going out like UFC fighters trying to punch out the ball in this game. I mean, somebody's got to find one. Somebody's got to jump on it. Last year, it forced a turnover in the first 6 games in a row. This year, you've only done it in 1 of your 4 games. Like, it just, something isn't there. And I think a lot of it's pass rush. And I think that's kind of what also kind of intertwines with this is like, you have to get the batted balls. You have to find the pressure on Jayden Daniels to force a rush throw. But, man, you have to find a way to take the football away.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And I think for me, it's something where they're going to have to do this in coverage because you look at, you have to pick your spots when you blitz Jayden Daniels because his passer rating when he's clean is 93.9. His passer rating under pressure is also a respectable 83.7. So This is a guy that really handles pressure well. So I think this is something where you schematically have to make sure that you're putting your guys in the right position to be able to make plays on the football, and you're going to have to be sticky in coverage from whistle to whistle. You absolutely have to maintain your contain because he's somebody that is going to be able to keep the play alive and still be looking to make plays. When he does, make sure you're in position to make him pay and give that football back to Justin Herbert with a short field and something to work with.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of the most kind of under talked about reasons, as far as the Chargers' struggles last week is like, man, their field position was just really bad all day. Like, you're not getting big returns in the special teams. You're not getting the turnovers like the Giants had last week where, their offense gets set up twice inside the 5-yard line. in that game. The Chargers need some help offensively, I think, to get things going, especially in a game you're going up against, one of the more talented offenses you have so far this year. It would be really, really helpful if this defense, which has their flaws, right? Like, I think if you're trying to do it clean and you're not forcing the turnovers, it's going to be a lot harder. One of the reasons they were the best defense in the NFL last year in points per game was because they found ways to turn the ball over. I mean, they were one of, top 10 in takeaways last year, one of the best turnover differential teams. So far this year, one of the worst turnover differential teams. They're not turning the ball over and taking the football away. And on the flip side of that, they've put the ball on the ground, put the ball into opponents' arms much more this year than they did last year. So I think that's a big part of this game and the Chargers finding a way to win this one. But it is time to put our money where our mouths are because we have to get into bold predictions. And it's time to talk about if the Chargers actually will lean on Deion Henley as much as we want them to. We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
David, now we have to get into our bold prediction segment. Thank you to all the everydayers out there for making us your first listen as always, but also for contributing to this bold prediction segment, which has been one of the best things over the last couple of years, getting you guys involved with the final show before the game. So we appreciate you guys. If you need a second listen, want to keep up with the rest of the NFL, make sure to check out Locked On NFL with 2 shows a day with Tyler the Madman rolling in the morning, giving you a double shot of NFL Espresso, and my guy Tony Wiggins in the barbershop on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from. David, let's get into the bold predictions here. And let's start with Jackson, who says his bold prediction is Omarion Hampton will have 25 touches in this game. In parentheses, Greg Roman, for the love of God, please, which I think all of us were feeling last week a little bit. But, David, do you think he'll be able to get that amount of touches in a game that might not be the best matchup on the ground, but obviously he's been a lot more involved in the passing game too?
Yeah, so I think last game he got 17 touches, and I think he made the most of those touches. He absolutely did. 165 total yards that he accumulated in that game. And so I think when your offensive coordinator gives you those touches and that's the production that you bring to him, obviously he's going to be inclined to give you more opportunities, to give you chances to get that production and multiply that even more. And so I think I absolutely feel comfortable saying that he is going to get a lot more touches in this game because he's earned those touches.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy he was able to do what he did last week on 17 touches, right?
Yeah.
And I think the touches part of it here makes a difference, right? Because I don't know if he'll have 25 carries.
Right.
25 touches. If you can keep your offense on the field and get things moving, there will be more touches to go around, obviously. But the offensive line, obviously, a mash unit. But I think the thing that helps him here, 11 catches on 12 targets over the last 2 weeks. 20 carries, 5 catches seems very doable in this game. But let's get to this one from Steven Sullivan, who says, I predict that we lose if Omarion Hampton doesn't get 20-plus carries in this game. I'll say this. I don't think that guarantees a loss, but I think it's a really great point here, which is just, hey, if you're going to, try to just drop Justin Herbert back, lean into play action early that they might be on to, like the last couple of teams haven't been surprised by it, yeah, you might lose this game. You very easily could lose this game. Have to get off to a quicker start, to your point, right? Not get behind early. But I'd get the point here where it's like, hey, you need to give this guy the ball.
Yeah, I think it's just showing the commitment to doing what you say you want to do and what your kind of your whole
Calling
philosophy
card. Yeah.
and background says that you would do and you have done at a very high level. Run the ball. That's what we want to see, and I think we just want to see more of a commitment to it, especially when it's showing that it's working. Obviously, we're not saying bang your head against the wall if you're not getting the production that you're looking for, but if it's working, keep doing it. Don't go away from it. I mean, I understand you want to set other things up, but just stay committed if it's working.
And I think that was the hard thing in the last game. Like after the big Omarion Hampton run, after the 3rd-and-1 beast mode carry, you had a series in which is 3 Justin Herbert, penalties back to back, or 3 Justin Herbert plays back to back to back where he's throwing the football. Where it's like, I understand you can't run it on every first down, but maybe feed the hot hand at that point. And it's almost to the point at that point he was their best offensive player.
Yeah.
If you're going a series without him touching the ball, something's going terribly wrong. But let's get to this one here from JM, who says his bold prediction: Ladd will have his first 100-plus yard game of the season. We talked about him at the beginning of the show. To me, it's going to happen sooner than later. Why not this game? A great matchup, probably a chip on his shoulder after maybe his worst career game. And I think the biggest question just is, will Justin Herbert be able to stay upright long enough to consistently get him the football?
Yeah, I think to that point, I think, there is a more advantageous matchup in this one as far as the pass rush for the Washington Commanders not being as potent as the last 2 opponents that the Chargers had to go up against and block. So I think there is some opportunity there for Ladd McConkey to be able to have some time to be able to go get those plays and be able to make those catches, because it is a matter of time. And also this offense is, I think, at its best when he's going out there making plays, drawing that very important attention, which also allows other people on the offense to find success as well.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. Like, you're not going to get the same amount of talent that you've had over the last 2 weeks as far as the 2 defensive lines you went up against, right? Like, this is not Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter or Zach Allen and Nick Bonito, right? Like, this is a little bit of a better situation. It's just so hard to trust the offensive line right now. And, maybe a little bit of an underrated pass rush as well. 9th in pressure percentage so far in 2025. So if there's no one guy that like super scares you, Von Miller doesn't seem to really be that guy right now. Very situational over there. But yeah, it does feel like you have a chance with Ladd McConkey, who doesn't need much time to get him involved. And he has the yak ability also to take one to the house at any time. And it feels like that big breaker is going to come pretty soon. But we're talking all offense. What about the defensive side? Because there might be a crime in Los Angeles on Sunday, according to Athir.
Daniel, David, Athir bold prediction for Sunday. LA police will arrest David Still after the game for harassing Jayden Daniels in the offense. I am going 2 pick sixes to the house. Chargers make a statement and a bounce back win. 27 to
Yeah, 27-7. I didn't actually cut the end of that part off there, but thank you, Athir. It feels like, I don't see 2 pick sixes, obviously, but you're talking about a guy last year who changed the entire Falcons game when the offense didn't score on their own in the second half for the entirety of that second half against Kirk Cousins and company. It was literally the 8 points scored because of Tarheeb Still's pick 6 that got them that win. Like Ladd McConkey, it feels like the first pick for Tarheeb Still is coming. I mean, between Dante Jackson and Tarheeb, like, those guys had 11 picks so far, or last year combined. This year they've combined for 1 in 4 games. So I like Tarheeb Still. I like the thought of him, doing so much against Jayden Daniels that he's going to get in trouble. But yeah, it does feel like there's one right around the corner for this guy.
Well, I feel like last week it was Thule that just needed to kind of break that seal and then break out. And I think Tarheeb Still is another one of those people that we know has the ability, the ball skills to go out there and go get the football and give it back to your offense. I'll take one. Just one pick 6. That would be wonderful.
One regular pick.
One regular pick would be great. But I feel like it's just one of those things where you just got to crack that seal, get that ball in his hands, and he's a guy that's streaky. And I think we'll get 1, and that'll turn into 2, 3, 4, and more.
The one game the Chargers did turn the other team over, it was 3 picks against Geno Smith. So when it rains, it does pour sometimes. Jayden Daniels obviously a little bit more protective of the football, I would say, generally speaking. But he's gotten beat up a little bit too, and the Chargers will need to do that and, make him think about having to scramble 15 times in this game. Hopefully not. But, David, it's time to get into our own bold predictions. Who did you end up going with this week?
My bold prediction is going to Quentin Johnston. I
Oh.
think Quentin Johnston has a good matchup on the outside as well. I don't think there's really anybody in that secondary that really scares me at all. And I feel like he is going to have 7 catches, 115 yards,
Oh.
and a 40-plus yard touchdown.
Man, I mean, if you're saying somebody it's a big touchdown, it feels like he's the really only guy you would go with at this point. He's been the big playmaker down the field.
Yeah.
And credit to him for how much he's improved. Yeah, I mean, at this point, he kind of goes into these games as the favorite to be the leading receiver and to have a big game, but nobody's hit that 100-yard mark so far. Will it be Ladd? Will it be Quentin Johnston? Hopefully one of those guys can hit the century mark this week. I'm going to the other side of the football. I brought him up. I'm calling Daiyan Henley big game in this one. You know, got to stick with what I think it's going to take for the Chargers to have a good chance in this game. I'm going Daiyan Henley, 10 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble that the Chargers fall on for the first one they've gotten this season. I think Daiyan Henley, hopefully physically right. Chargers at home this week. No East Coast road trip, which I think is important, right? And I think obviously it hinders the Commanders a little bit. Yeah, I think Daiyan Henley, it's time for him to kind of show up after a couple of games where he's just kind of been whatever. I think he does it in this game. I think they absolutely need him to be that guy in the middle of this defense with the guys they're going to have attacking the middle of this defense this week. But let's get to the game predictions, David. Man, did I have a tough one with this game. Truly, I did. I think the Chargers could, and, without Terry McLaurin, no Sam Cosmi this week, probably should win. But it's just so hard for me to trust this offensive line right now. Like, I just truly don't know. I mean, we're talking about back-to-back weeks against better defensive lines for sure, but where the offense for a majority of the game is just unusable, right? Like, truly, until you had those 2 last drives against the Broncos, it was an incredibly pathetic showing by the Chargers offense. Last week, not a great showing either, and obviously had the 2 turnovers. Unfortunately, I got to go with my gut and what I think is going to happen. I always do. I'm picking the Commanders in this game. I still think the Chargers slow them down. I just do not trust the Chargers offensive line, and we don't even know who the starters are going to be, if Mekhi Becton is going to play. If there were some other parts of this that we had a little bit more locked in, I think I could pick the Chargers. I want more than anything for the Chargers to win this game because David Droegemeier is going to be there as part of his birthday vacation. Please tell me, David, you have more confidence in them than I do this week.
Yeah, I mean, going into the season, this was a game that I thought was going to be incredibly difficult, and I'm pretty sure I counted it as a loss. Now that I've seen them play, I feel like there's some obvious places that the Chargers can take advantage of this football team, especially on the defensive side. I feel like the corners are definitely a place of weakness. The middle of their defense is a place of weakness that they absolutely should exploit. I am not scared of the Washington Commanders pass rush. I feel like even with the Chargers offensive line, the way it's currently constructed, they'll be able to provide enough time for Justin Herbert to be able to find those weaknesses and exploit it. And that's the reason why I am confidently picking the Chargers to win this game. And my record in attendance at home games is much better than it is at away games. That's going to continue. Can't wait to spend that with you guys. It's going to be Chargers 28, Commanders 21.
Yeah, I love that, man. I mean, I think if the Chargers can keep him upright, like truly, if they can do it, it feels like Justin Herbert should have a field day. But like he probably should have last week against that Giants defense, and they just couldn't do it. Like it is a less talented front, top 10 in pressures, top 10 in pressure percentage. It's still gonna. I mean, I just don't. It's more about my lack of trust in the Chargers offensive line more than it is anything else. And if I knew Mekhi Becton was going to be back, it would make me feel a little bit better about the situation, but I know Joe Wall isn't going to play in this game, and that's what gives me my reservations. But that's going to wrap things up for today's show. Make sure you guys are back here Sunday night for the live post-game show after David goes to SoFi and hangs out with you guys and gets back. We'll be doing that. I'll also be on the post-cast show on the Locked On Chargers squad show with those guys, so excited to do that again this week. But to make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. And you can also find the show every day or contribute to the fan shows on all of our social media at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page as well. Man, I think this would do a lot for this Chargers season if they could pull this one out. While they're banged up, no Khalil Mack, no Joe Alt. If they can win this one, I'll have a little bit more faith that they can win against good teams with what they have to work with right now, and they can make a big-time statement on Sunday. So be back with us Sunday night for the live post-game show. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.